Paul, 2 weeks out, is kind of where's the progress at? How do you feel like the boys are getting at it?
I think we've made a lot of progress in this 1 week. To be honest with you, I think we came back better than we were when we finished fall practice, which is what I somewhat anticipated. It's really a weird phenomenon. I haven't been able to figure it out exactly why it happens, but I've noticed it through the years. You go through fall practice, you reach a certain point, and then you let the kids go for a month, they go home, they come back better than they were when they left. I don't know if it's imagery, that they think about things over the break and they visualize stuff. I don't know if it's just that they know what to expect and feel more comfortable. But I think we've had a really good first week of practice. We had several, good workouts in individual practices, and then the first week has gone outstanding. I think we've had a couple of super duper scrimmages where the guys played good, crisp baseball. What I'm most pleased about is the progress that several of the pitchers have made. Matthew Beck in the fall, I didn't think he was going to be in the mix. Now he comes back throwing much harder with a much better breaking ball. And now you got a veteran guy that looks like he's going to be able to contribute. Really a handful of the pitchers look better than they did even in fall practice. So I'm excited about that. It's given me some very cautious optimism about our pitching staff. The 3 starting pitchers, I think, have looked terrific. I'm not so sure Todd Peterson hasn't looked better than Caleb Gilbert and Zach Hess, which is really encouraging, if you got your Sunday guy throwing the ball well. So, yeah, I think one more good week of practice and we're going to be ready to go, and then I'm going to have to discard that we don't regress in the week leading up to the first game. But I think the guys are pretty anxious to play somebody else, and we're just about ready to be able to.
You mentioned the other 3. How has Sanders looked?
Cam threw really well. What's today? Today's Thursday. On Tuesday night, I thought he threw terrific as well. Not quite at the level of the first 3 guys, but a big step forward. He didn't throw a good first inning. He pitched out of the bullpen his first outing. I think that was on maybe Friday. He didn't look very good that day, I didn't think at all. This past Tuesday looked much better. So, a lot of reasons for optimism. I know a lot of people are thinking, we've got all these new guys, but they already look more comfortable out here. And, once the bright lights go on and they're playing for real, there's probably going to be I would guess, a little bit of a step back just to make the adjustment to the new environment. And then I think within a very short time they'll have experience under their belt. They'll be able to handle it.
What's Todd doing different now that maybe he wasn't doing at the end of last season?
I just think he's in better shape, better physical condition, so his legs are stronger, taking a lot of strain off of his arm. He's using his whole body. His work ethic, as far as just his focus of what Alan tells him to do, he's doing it in a much more disciplined way. His bullpens, what we call our side sessions, have been terrific, and then he's taken that into across the white line and he goes on to the main mound. So let's hope he keeps progressing. I always thought the kid had a lot of talent, a lot of potential to do well, and as happens with some kids, they lose their focus a little bit, they kind of lose their way, and hopefully he's realized it's an important thing in his life and he wants to do well, and hopefully he's going to have the discipline to continue to keep his eye on the ball, so to speak.
Have you identified anybody else besides Hilliard who you might kind of try out in that back end bullpen role?
Well, I think Fontenot certainly is a candidate for that as well. McHale's first outing, for that matter, Fontenot's first outing weren't all that great, but Fontenot's was a little bit better than McHale's. I thought McHale threw a lot better his second outing, and I thought Fontenot was really good his second outing. So those 2 guys I think are good candidates. I'm so anxious to get Nick Storrs out there and just having to try to be patient, because I think when he is finally able to toe the slab, he's going to bring something really good to our team. And what role that'll be in, I have no idea. And for you youngsters, towing the slab means standing on the rubber on the pitcher's mound.
Is he progressing?
Yeah, he just had a slight setback. He was playing long catch one day, and he dropped his arm slot a little bit to be able to throw the distance, which he shouldn't do, and it caused him to strain his latissimus dorsi, which is a muscle in your back. He strained it ever so slightly, but it it just kind of caused us to have to take a few days off and start him back up again. So it probably cost him about a week.
About Labus.
Labus has been throwing, not off the mound or anything, but he's progressing nicely. We haven't had any setbacks at all with him with his back. His back feels fine, and his arm's never been an issue. So I think the biggest thing with him is just getting his core strong and getting him into pitching condition so that we can then get him on the mound and let it rip, so to speak.
What's kind of your thought on some of those new lefties that you have?
Well, Kodros has not done anything. He came back with a sore shoulder. About a week before he was due back into school, he called us and said his shoulder was acting up a little bit. And so he hasn't done anything. He's being treated. I think he's actually just started playing catch a couple days ago, so he's not close right now. Peterson and Nowak, I think, have thrown the ball well, and so is Nick Bush. So, there's again reason for optimism with some left-handed options out of the bullpen. Ken Fittmeyer has thrown without issue, throwing a lot of strikes, throwing about 90, 91 miles an hour. So he's looked pretty good as well.
You mentioned Matthew back earlier. He gave you some good weekend innings at times last year. What do you see his role? Kind
of mysteriously, Chris, he popped up in a big role, and then he fell back. After he had some really outstanding success, didn't he go about 10 scoreless innings in a row or something like that? And then all of a sudden, his velocity dropped off again, and he started to, just kind of get out of sync and never really, recovered. And then it carried into this summer and then this fall, and I was starting to wonder really whether or not he had the talent to pitch at LSU. And I talked to him at the end of the fall about maybe, the possibility of going somewhere else is the best thing for you so that you get an opportunity to pitch. And he was very clear on how he felt. He felt he had more in him and that he wasn't going to run away from the challenge. And I'm glad he didn't. Honestly, all of a sudden he's gone from throwing 83 to 90, 91 with a hard curveball. Last year his curveball kind of rolled up to the plate. Now it's got some serious bite to it. He's throwing it harder, and he's looked pretty good. With that tall frame, it's a weird angle for the hitters to have to adjust to. Our own hitters are saying that they have a little bit of trouble picking up the ball against him. He's got a little bit of funkiness in his arm action. That's kind of a short arm, and the ball sneaks up on him. So 90-91 kind of feels harder than even that.
What have you seen from Jake at third base?
Yeah, I think Jake's doing well at third base. He hasn't had a lot of chances in the inter-squad games, but the ones that he's had, he started a nice double play the other day, and he's doing a good job. He's working extremely hard, and I don't have any doubt in my mind that he can play certainly a credible third base, perhaps outstanding third base. I think the more that he plays in real games, the better idea we'll get.
I know last year you talked about him being kind of a little bit hot and cold, kind of the highs being too high, the lows being too low. Have you seen him kind of
He's
that
still kind of in that mode, to be honest with you. I'll tell you, I think Sean's done some really good work, kind of quiet his body actions down when he's at the plate. He was kind of all over the place with his swings the first few weeks, just totally fooled by a lot of pitches, a lot of moving parts. And Sean has done a really nice job in trying to get him some more body control. It hasn't necessarily translated into great results in the first few inter-squad games, but the swing looks better. And I keep telling him, you're really close to locking in, I can tell. He's just missing balls and skying them out to the outfield. But the biggest thing with him is when he's doing that, he's not like coming back to the dugout, slamming helmets down, getting down on himself. He's showing a greater maturity in how he's handling some failures, at least in this period of time. And that's encouraging. That shows me maturity. And, listen, when he hits them right, he hits them as hard as anybody we have on our team. So he hasn't demonstrated that ability yet to hit them hard, on a consistent basis. But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes pretty quickly here in the next few weeks.
Paul, what's it like having your dad out here today at practice?
That's my dad. Everybody, he's 89 years young. My brother Jim is the saint of our family. Takes care of him. He's my best friend, my mentor. He's taught me everything I know about life and baseball, and he doesn't get out here as often as he once did. Just physically it's not possible for him to do it, but he was bound and determined to get out of the house today. So Jim called me and said he wanted to bring him out, and it's awesome when he's out here. For all that don't know my father, when he retired from coaching after a 30-year career at Miami-Dade Community College in Miami, Florida, he was generally regarded as the greatest junior college coach in history. He was the first junior college coach to 1,000 career wins, won a national championship. He had 5 near misses. I think he had 3 second-place finishes and 2 third-place finishes, and he had about 35 of his former players make it to the major leagues. And it's amazing, really, because I just recently, like last week, got a beautiful email from some guy that's a colonel in the Army now, and he was expressing his sentiments about having played for my father and how much of an impact my father had on his life. I mean, I get those things and it just warms my heart, it just makes me so proud. But he's just an amazing man. It's hard watching him, age as it is for anyone to watch their parents, but he's still the old fiery Mainieri.
Does any coaching come out of him and stuff like this?
I've coached in about 2,100 games, I think last count, somewhere around there. Okay, and probably the first, 1,600, 1,700 games, I probably called him after every single game to analyze the game, get advice from him and that type of thing. The last few years he hasn't been capable of having that perspective to be able to share with me, if you know what I'm saying. So it's been a little bit of a void in my life, just having him out here on the ball field is great.
What's the biggest lesson he's taught you then?
I couldn't even tell you what the biggest lesson professionally probably was that when I decided I wanted to go into coaching, he sat me down and he said, if you really want to go into coaching, you have to go into it for the right reasons. And the right reason is to impact young people's lives, teach them how to be successful today on a baseball field, but later on in life, those characteristics will help them be successful in other walks of life. And don't do it for any other reason except your love of youngsters and wanting to impact their lives. So that's probably the single greatest advice he ever gave me. It was probably the first piece of advice he gave me about coaching.